If you've ever looked at your 2D sonar on your Garmin Striker 4 and been like, what in the world am I even looking at? You're not alone. Everyone's actually been there until they learn it, and I'm going to walk you through how to read your 2D sonar so you can get on fish faster. Let's hop in. So let me break this down for you. Wendell fishing style, no PhD required, right? Your Garmin Striker 4 is basically doing three things. Sending a sonar pulse straight down and outward through the water. It's waiting for that echo to bounce back from whatever is under your vessel, and then it's plotting those echoes as colors and shapes moving across your screen, which is right here. And so remember, this screen right here is simply a history of what your transducer has seen. It's what you have passed over seconds ago. So everything you see is constantly scrolling because either your kayak or your vessel is moving or fish are moving through your cone. So think of your transducer like a flashlight pointing straight down. It doesn't shoot a perfect laser beam, right? It shoots a cone-shaped sonar beam that gets wider the deeper it gets. And on the Garmin Striker 4, you got 4 useful frequency cone width options. So if you go down here into settings, you can go down to frequency, and you're going to see that you have CHIRP 77 kilohertz, CHIRP 200 kilohertz, 77 kilohertz, and 200 kilohertz. So let's start with 200 kilohertz non-CHIRP. This is going to give you a 15-degree cone, right? It's narrow. It's best for target separation. Really great for shallow water, tight and crisp arches. If you go up to 77 kilohertz, this is a single beam, right? And so this is a 45-degree cone. It's very wide, really great for scanning large areas and finding more fish, especially in deeper water. If you go up to 200 kilohertz CHIRP, this is like roughly the same degree cone as a traditional 200 kilohertz, but it sweeps a much broader range, roughly 150, I believe, to 240 kilohertz. So it's going to produce those cleaner arches, better target separation, and clearer returns in clutter and around bait. And then if you go up to CHIRP 77 kilohertz, it's going to be roughly the same 45-degree cone as the traditional 77 kilohertz. However, it's going to sweep across a broader spectrum of frequencies, roughly 70 to 110 kilohertz, I believe. And really what it's going to do is pick up fish better on the edges of the cone. It's great for 20+ foot depth where you want that maximum coverage. But here's where you need to understand the cone size changes with depth, right? So if you're using that 77 kilohertz CHIRP, at 10 feet, that cone at the bottom of the water is going to be around 7 to 8 feet wide. At 20 feet, it's going to be 15 to 16 feet wide. And at 40 feet, your cone's going to be 30 feet wide. So anything inside of that footprint, inside of that cone, fish, brush, bait, gets shown on your screen, whether it's directly under you or way off to the side. And that's really important to know in your vertical jigging. So if you're sitting on 40 feet of water and you see a mark, you might be thinking, man, I'm dropping this thing right on its head. Why isn't it eating? Well, that fish could be 15 feet to the right, 15 feet to the left of you, not directly below your kayak, because the sonar is a cone, not a single pinpoint beam. All right, so now let's talk about why fish actually show up as arches. As you can see here, show up here, up there. Why are they showing up as arches on your screen? And this is the part everyone struggles with, so I'm going to keep it super simple. A fish becomes an arch because of how it moves through the sonar cone and how long that sonar ping takes to return back to your transducer. So let me walk you through this. Step 1, the fish enters the edge of the cone. So this is where the arch begins to, like on the bottom side of the frown. So the fish is the furthest away from your transducer, which means there is a longer return time and it appears deeper on your screen. So you got to remember, the only part of the fish that's hit in that moment is a weak return, and it's going to show up as a small faint blip. And this is why every arch starts with a downward shallow curve. Step 2, the fish reaches the center of the cone, right? Now it's the closest to the transducer. It's got the shortest return time, the strongest echo, and it appears shallower. So this is the brightest, thickest part of the arch. This is going to be the top of the arch. And then step 3 is going to be the reverse, right? It's a fish exiting the far edge of the cone. It begins to move away again, to longer return time, a weaker echo, and the arch drops back down, and another shallow frown on the way out. And this creates the right side of the arch mirroring the left. And that's the whole arch, right? Just distance plus movement plus return time. So remember, when you see a full arch, that fish passed through the entire cone. If you happen to see a half arch, you might have only caught part of its path. Or maybe even a flat line, that fish is barely moving or hugging the bottom. So it's important to know this as well. Your vessel does not have to move for arches to appear, right? If you move or the fish moves, you get an arch. So what's the fish look like on a 2D sonar? So things to remember: full arches a lot of times mean active fish, often bass, walleye, predators. Those half arches, right? These could be fish clipping the beam or holding tight to a piece of structure. Those thick red blobs are usually bait schools or multiple fish stacked on top of one another. And those horizontal worms could be a slow moving like fish or a panfish. So what is usually not a fish is straight vertical lines. That's usually electrical noise. eyes. Jagged bottom spikes, usually rocks or ledges. That flat, thick bottom line, that's gonna be the hard bottom, or like cloud-like clusters. Those are fish, but they're just bait balls, ton of little fish. And once you read these patterns, reading sonar becomes like second nature. So if you applied what I just shared with you, you're gonna be ahead of 90% of the anglers out there reading 2D sonar. So you might have noticed on the screen that I'm sharing with you, there's a right vertical bar on the right side of the screen. That is called a scope. It stands for amplitude scope, and it doesn't come turned on out of the box. But once you enable it, you'll be able to see a real-time vertical bar showing you exactly what is under you right now. So if you want to take your sonar game to the next level, check out that video right there where I break down a scope and how you can change the settings to get on fish faster. Thanks for watching, guys. See ya.